psychological stress evaluation test, better known as PSE. What we're going to do is ask you some questions. You will answer yes or no. We will tape these questions. The tape will go back to the United States. At that time, we'll test it through a computer to measure your micro tremors in your voice. It's like a lie detector test.
Yeah.
Would you agree to doing this?
Go on, start it.
Okay, first question. Is your name Edward Meier?
Yes.
Could you speak a little louder, please?
Yes.
Are you wearing a shirt?
Yes.
Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
Have you taken photographs of Pleiadian spacecraft?
Yes.
Do you ride your moped?
Yes.
Do you receive your mail at Schmidt-Rudy?
Yes.
Did you fake the photographs taken at Ober-Satellite with a model suspended, wait till the answer, or wait till the question is finished, suspended by a string?
No.
Let's do that one more time, okay? Wait till I finish. Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
The tape is taken back to be analyzed by Bob Phelan, a former criminal investigator with the Sheriff's Department of Colorado and a specialist in lie detection.
Was also a yes answer. Number 3, do you live in Switzerland? Yes, he lives in Switzerland. There's enough stress here to indicate that probably isn't where he prefers to live, or he's lived someplace else. Question 4 was the first relevant question you asked him, is have you taken the photographs of spacecraft? His answer was yes. He's being extremely forceful, though not deceptive. And my opinion on that particular question is that he's being as truthful as possible. Number 7 was the second relevant question you asked him, and he answered right on top of the question. And the person asking the question had asked him to answer the question again, and then he asked the question again. The stress levels between the two diminished the second time that the question was asked, which is not indicative of deception, because stress builds in a deceptive pattern. It doesn't diminish. If it was a deceptive answer, the stress would then increase, not decrease. Now, something was extremely interesting to me was the 8th question you asked him on, do you drink coffee? And for some reason, he's more stressful on the statement about coffee than he is about the picture of the spacecraft.
Yeah, that makes sense, because about 3 days before we tested Meier, he promised his wife he'd stop drinking coffee, but we noticed he'd been sneaking a few occasionally.
Okay, that could probably be the account for it then.
Phelan reviews the tape several times. He could find no evidence of deception in the statements about Meier's experiences. Much of Meier's film has been lost or stolen, but the remaining sequences are, as promised, the most astonishing ever released. In one demonstration, the beam ship flies around a tree, which can be seen to sway in the backwash. Once again, in slow motion. Even slower. Later, Semyasi brings a new beam ship to pose for Meier's cameras. A variation quite unlike anything he has seen before. She explains as best he can understand it, the function of the spheres for propulsion of the craft in interstellar travel. The sound of the new beamship shows marked differences to the sounds of the other variation craft. Meier tapes these as well. The tapes are taken to electronics consultant Niels Rognerud and sound engineer Steve Ambrose for examination.
We have two pieces of equipment. One measures the signal as it's entering, and one is measuring the frequency components of the signal. What you have is you have many tones happening at the same time, and right now they're aligned. Now they're disaligning. And let's see.
Would it be possible to recreate this sound?
Going. It would.
Intrigued by the findings, Lee Elders takes the tape to Robin Shellman, who has studied the sounds of the earlier craft.
We're showing this throbbing, modulating beat that we hear on the tape. This beat, or modulation, occurs at these frequency peaks. Each one of these peaks is a discrete frequency. If you wanted to give a visual display, let's say we're talking a motor, could be a motor, a shaft of a motor with 4 magnetic poles or coils around this shaft. The curious thing about this, it changes from 4 to 5, 6, 7, all the way up to a number that is difficult to discern. At a certain point, you're going to generate a certain amount of magnetism. And then later on, you want a stronger field, well, you're going to select 8 fields. All right, now you're going to hear 8 pulses on the tape. And then later on, you want a stronger field, you can select 16, 32.
Is there anything unusual about this?
I would think it's highly unusual. I don't really see any application for it, with the exception of, like I say, either generating a magnetic wave of some sort for laboratory purposes or maybe in this case propulsion.
Without ever having seen a picture of the new beamship, Shellman has drawn a representation of the spheres and offered an explanation of their function. The tapes hold still another surprise.
Also, another interesting point to note here is we have a steady, there seems to be a steady pattern all throughout all of this random signal. It seems to be level change very steadily in around 5 to 10 cycles per second, which happens to be in the area of the natural magnetic resonance of Earth, also called the Schumann resonance.
Is that significant in any way?
It could be. It's just interesting to note the correlation there.
The peculiar correlation is something strange.
I mean, why would the correlation be there?
Yeah.
You can see it on the oscilloscope.
Meier says the beamships can ride the magnetic field of the Earth. Rognerud's findings seem to bear this out. Going back to computer models of previous beam ships, simulation of the revolving lights reveals a kind of pulsing that matches the varying frequencies. Analyst Jim Dilatoso is convinced that the sound and light frequencies are related. The ship at the top of the frame disappears and appears again almost simultaneously, just above the slope of the hill. When the film is examined, the beam ship disappears and appears in the same frame, which means that less than 1/18th of a second has elapsed. In order to complete their background research, the elders visit Scotland to talk with John McVeigh, a member of the Royal Society of Astronomers, and a published authority on the structure of the universe and the possibility of interstellar travel.
Is it possible to travel from the Pléyades to this planet?
I think the only way any intelligent beings and living beings could possibly reach here the influence of the sun from the Pléyades would be by some unconventional means. Probably by hyperspace. One can use this term now a bit more freely because it has kind of scientific significance now.
You know, this McVeigh is quite an impressive guy. He's written 6 books on related subject matter, life in outer space, interstellar travel. I think he knows quite a bit of what he's talking about, myself.
Yeah, I've got one question I'd like to ask him, though.
What's that?
I want to see if he's got any information on this historical connection we keep coming up with. Because we found it everywhere from the Incas to the Aztecs to the Greeks to the Romans to Egypt, everywhere. Possibly he's come across something in his research.
Well, the Pléyades are very well known. In fact, they're a very ancient group. They're mentioned, in fact, in the Bible, in the book of Job. I can't just give you chapter and verse, but they are a very old group. And they've been used by many ancient civilizations to signify the approach of autumn, winter.
Hippocrates recorded that summer begins with their rising and winter with their setting, and Greek temples are aligned to these events. The Great Pyramids of Egypt are also aligned to the Pléyades. To some African nations they are known as the 7 goddesses. In China they are called the 7 maidens, and they are the 7 beneficent spirits of the Hindu Vedas. Curiously, in all these separate cultures, they are always referred to in the female. The Pleiadians told Meier they used females for their first contacts because they appeared less aggressive to early man. The Mayans celebrated the moment when the Pleiades reached their zenith as the most important event in their calendar. Pre-Incan peoples believed their gods came down from the Pleiades, and on the mysterious plains of Nazca, Peru, the Thunderbird marks the plaza of the Pleiades. In other cultures, the cluster is regarded as the place of God's house, the center of heaven. The lore of American Indian tribes is full of the Pleiades, which, according to some, stand at the gates of heaven. Historian John M. Hula, a Kiowa Indian, relates one story that survives to this day. It is tied to Devil's Tower in Wyoming.
This mountain here, Kiowas lived in this area, and we call it the Old Tie. Kiowas camped through here, winter camp. And these children were playing. They playing and they were running along this ledge over here. A giant bear came out of the woods and chased these children. The 7 children, seven sisters, we call them. And they came to this one ledge here. And the children got on top of it. This ledge began to grow. It grew out of the ground. As the mountain grew, the bear's claws were scratched in the mountain. That's what we see today is the grooves up there. And from there, the seven sisters went on up into the sky. And they're up there today.
The Pleiadians today, they wasn't created and born on the Pleiadian planets. They came out of the planets of the system Lyra and Vega. But too, they was not created there because their forebears came from some other planets and other galaxy somewhere into space.
Those space travelers who were the ancestors of Earth races came from star systems differing from yours in many respects. When these ancestors came to your planet too, there were already humans developing here. Since in the universe there exist many different colored peoples, races developed here that were able to adapt to the conditions in different parts of Earth.
We can see also we not are the baddest races in the universe. How many sects go to tell and to say that the most bad thing what's happened over all the universe shall be the human being on Earth. It isn't true. There is trouble here and there is trouble somewhere else into the space on other planets too.
There remain only a few questions to clear up, but one of them has perhaps the most bearing on the Meier case. If his story is true, how did those beings accomplish a journey of such staggering distances? The investigators put the question to Alan Holt, an astrophysicist who works with the US space program, and David Froning, a specialist in spacecraft design for that program.
Gentlemen, is faster than light travel possible today in our technology, or is this still just theory?
There have been physicists that have been so bold and brave as to actually postulate the existence of particles that travel faster than the speed of light. And they have called these entities tachyons. And they have shown that the existence of such faster than light entities may not violate known laws of physics.
I've worked on a kind of a field theory approach, which is basically an extension. I like to view it as an extension of Einstein's last work on a unified field theory. I really think that everything is pointing to a breakthrough that will make possible faster than light travel. Now, not all physicists will agree with that.
How would it work?
Well, I've represented here hyperspace currents by these blue and red lines. Down in here would be space and time. So space and time is what we're aware of and what we deal with in everyday life. But there could exist a higher dimensional space, a hyperspace, that we can interact with by certain configurations of electromagnetic energy patterns. So the concept here would be you start out with a certain pattern. Generally you're tied in with the Earth's gravitational field and its hyperspace currents, but there's a low connection with perhaps a distant star. As you change the pattern, the connection with the Earth's gravitational field and its hyperspace currents decreases, and the connection with the distant star's pattern increases. And so in effect, you're being pushed away from the Earth's gravitational field and pulled in to a gravitational field of a distant star. I had some artists do some work here showing a spacecraft leaving our solar system and going out of space and time. This red line represents the division between space and time and hyperspace. And the spacecraft, based on the propulsion concept I proposed, would use a field resonance effect to effectively jump into hyperspace, disappearing from space and time in our solar system, and then reappearing at a distant star.
Mr. Froning, you showed me a diagram that you had worked up that's very similar to this, that describes a hyperspace leap in some fashion also. It's remarkable how similar they are.
What I've tried to symbolize by this diagram is, first of all, the familiar space-time plane of existence shown here in blue of our physical world.
At the journey's start, some distance is traveled and some time taken getting out of the solar system is shown by the curved line at the left. Then a hyperspace jump covers most of the distance with almost no lapse of time. Some time is taken again decelerating to the target, the curved line on the right.
So this line here is very similar to the red line Alan has on his chart.
That's right. That's right. This line he shows here is almost the same as the jump I show here.
Yeah. What shape would such ships have to be to make such a trip?
I initially came up with this design with a central circular symmetrical shape. This top figure shows a field resonance system in its space-time jump mode, where it initially rises up to a certain point, and as it rises up, as the pattern gets closer to the resonance point, the colors can change, showing the higher energy flow. And you do get an effect in this concept that is very similar to what is observed in some UFO sightings.
Okay. Dave, concerning the Pléyades, they're about 500 light years away from our planet. What would you estimate the time in this form of travel?
And we're talking about on the order of 8-hour transit times between the Earth and the system such as the Pléyades star cluster.
According to Meier, the Pleiadians make the trip in something over 7 hours. Meier also says that the Pleiadian beam ship's use of the magnetic field of the Earth is something our scientists are close to being able to accomplish as well. Using this information, the computer is able to project from one series of Meier photographs the flight path of the beam ships in the Earth's magnetic field. While the contacts continue, life on the farm proceeds at an even more hectic pace. To help free Meier, volunteers take on a lot of the routine work. But their very presence, their questions, even their enthusiasm create as much strain as they relieve.
The last 20 or 30 years there was many people who have seen UFOs. There are many people around the world who likes sensation only. Other one who are doing hoax to get money, maybe to get a name, but there are really many contacts and many people who have seen UFOs.
Between his work for the Pleiadians and the demand for his attention on the farm, Meier finds little respite. For moments of precious solitude, he retreats to the land he knows.
Above everything stands one force alone. We call it the creation. It regulates the laws over all, the life and death of everything in the universe, because it is everything in the universe. Real spirituality comes from the understanding of the laws of nature, the natural working of cause and effect, each contributing to and sharing with all. When you indulge in ritual and ceremony, real spirit pines away until it is gone. A spiritually developed being acknowledges creation in all things, from the largest to the smallest. Following this way, fears and doubts vanish like rain before the sun.
The story is by now a sensation in the European press. Every major magazine features Meier and his photos. Television coverage from as far away as Japan spreads the message to a public hungry for even more information. The quiet farm is suddenly a mecca. Inundated with visitors eager to meet Meier, see the photos, hear his experiences firsthand.
Agapula, ta mig exo. Åter mig in exo, mi laj mig upp this.
But Meier cannot refuse anyone. It is the promise he made to Semjase.
You have whole organizations which investigate our beam ships, but they have little material which is really authentic. However, the authorities already know much about our existence, but they continue to deny the fact of our existence, or even the fact of their research. They want only to rule the cosmos, but they are not even able to create on Earth peace among themselves.
Many of those who come seek answers, assurance, even the promise that someone or something will save us.
If we want peace and knowledge and love and everything here on earth, we have to change everything by ourselves as human beings from this earth.
And you are...
Despite a severe language barrier on both sides, Brit Elders has grown close to the Meier children.
Yes. And Gilgamesh Meier. Yes. Could you ask Atlantis for me if he's had any discussions with his friends in school about what has happened with the experiences?
Mama, ja, and sometimes.
And then was haben sie gesagt?
Und sie mir gesagt,
They said always it's not true what he said.
And Methuselah, has he talked to any of his friends?
Und hast du mit deinen Mitschülern geredet?
Ja.
Und was haben sie gesagt?
Sie haben immer gesagt, UFO Meier.
He said they make jokes with him and said to him, UFO Meier like this. And then they have to go to the teacher, and the teacher said to the other people, why you say UFO Meier to Methuselah? And so they are quiet now.
Would you ask them for me if they wished that their father had never had these experiences?
Atlantis say on one side yes, and the other side no.
Why the one side yes?
When die UFO jetzt...
If Billy don't have seen this UFO, people don't come to us, and not so much fun for him.
Not so much fun for him. It is especially hard on the children. With the publicity, security measures have tightened up. The children are taken to and from school, and their activities around the farm restricted. Most vestiges of a normal life have disappeared. But when a threat does appear, it is not from assassins or kidnappers, but a wholly unexpected source. One night, the household is awakened by a brilliant light that bathes the whole area in an eerie glow. Meier, disturbed because he has had no telepathic indications, grabs his gun and his camera. The light changes shape and intensity. It moves out over the valley, illuminating the valley floor, rising and falling until dawn, then disappears. At his next contact, Meier asks Semjase about the phenomenon. She has no explanation. The Pléyadians do not know what the strange lights could have been. Meier is shaken.
You know, everything is going on more and more difficult. I get trouble. I get trouble here in Schmidrütti. I get trouble with the government, with the people around us.
I can understand this, Billy. It's not unique. Anybody that has an experience runs into problems. But the experience is unique. You've got to keep going here.
That's true. But, you know, there come some people here from the morning to the evening. Too many of them. All of them want to talk with me. I get trouble with them because I say no. There is some other people who likes to kill me, who likes to kidnap the children.
I know it's got to be very hard on you, Billy, but we've got to go on.
Yeah, that's to say very easy for you,
Now,
but not for me.
I put a lot of time in this. We've taken your pictures back, we've tested them, we've tested the metal, we've tested the sounds. They all test good. You've got the best evidence that we have in any case, and I've been at this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And we can't stop.
And what you find it out, all of it? Is it now true, or is it...
Well, we're finding evidence that tends to support the case. It looks like it's really happening. Now, you have your own truth, and you know what's happening, but we've got to demonstrate this to ourselves and to the rest of the people. Please give it some serious thought. I need you.
Yeah, that's true, but just now I don't know what I shall do, you know. I'm down, my nerves are playing crazy. My mind slowly is turning over. I have to think over about it.
Please give it some serious thought, Billy. We can't stop now. We don't have any other way to go. So I think the world needs to know. I think you feel the world needs to know, but you just don't want to be the one. Somebody has to be.
I know, but I have to think over about it. I don't know. Just now, I don't know.
At the bottom of despair, an incident occurs that will reaffirm Meier's faith and give him the inspiration to go on. Stevens forwards a letter he received from a woman who had been seeing her daughter off at the Zurich airport. She shot several pictures, the usual departure shots, ending with a shot of the plane taking off. When it was developed, an object she had not noticed in the viewfinder of the camera had been captured on film. From the configuration, Meier recognizes it as one of the Pleiadian beam ships. Now he knows he is neither insane nor alone.
For myself, I don't worry. I know the people over all the world calls me sometimes foolish, but too there is some other people who is thinking a little bit, there is other people who is thinking much, and then I don't worry if some of them calls me foolish or mad. Then I think it's very necessary to fulfill my mission, and I don't care about my health, I don't care about my life. If I have to lose my health or my life in fulfilling of my mission, then I have it to do.
What you thinking, babe?
Oh, I was just trying to figure out how many times we've been here between the four of us.
We've been here a total of almost 20 trips.
Wow.
265 days. That's collectively between all four of us. And we're still searching. But
I don't think there's much more we can do in the investigation end of it. I think it's pretty tight.
I agree with you. I think we've reached our limit as far as an investigation is concerned.
I think maybe now what we should think about doing is telling other people what we've done in the investigation and what we've found. Try to take some of the stigma off of it. I think we should talk about it and let everybody make their own decisions.
Yeah. Ready to go home?
Just about.
Okay, wir sind heute also zusammengekommen, weil ich Bericht bekommen habe vom Rhein.
The investigators are anxious to release their findings. Meier realizes this will expose the group at the farm to even greater pressures. He puts the issue to them, emphasizing that with wider publicity they can expect even further disruptions in their lives. But the others too feel it is time. They will do what they can. Why here? Why in this tiny, quiet, ordered country known till now for clocks and cheese? A banking center, aggressively neutral, a winter and summer resort. Nothing about Switzerland seems to indicate the choice. Except Meier is here.
Pleiadians told me if I like, I can go with them to the Pleiades, to stay there, to spend my life there. But the Earth, it's a very lovely and nice planet, and the humans here on Earth, they are not better and not better than on other planet. My hopes and my dreams, they are very simple. To bring love and peace and the fulfilling of all the natural and creation laws over all the world.
Thank you for all your help and cooperation.
Don't mention about all that.
Thanks for working with us.
Everything.
If we've given you a bad time, we apologize, but that's strictly been for the sake of the investigation. Okay?
I hope we'll go on to work everything.
We're going to look into it good.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
Well, we'll see you later.
Bye bye, Brit. Good journey. Bye bye, Tom.
See you
Good
again.
flight.
So
Cheers.
Billy.
Mental.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Kelly, it's been a pleasure.
Bye bye, Lee. Yeah. Lee, just a moment. They still comes. They are working here together with us. They don't leave so early. They will stay here for the next couple of years.
So, they are among us now, watching, perhaps waiting for us to join them.
We are not superior beings, nor are we missionaries, but we feel duty-bound to the humans of Earth to tell them the only thing limiting the progress of the Earth human is the Earth human himself.